What is happening, people? Another good morning. Welcome to News Daily. My name is Peter in pole position, and we are here to discuss this man right here. If I clear myself out of this, Esteban Ocon. What are your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? Is he underrated? I want to get your thoughts on this. Esteban Ocon, of course, having a good start to the season with Alpine, and he's currently on 20 points this season. And I thought, let me get your voice, let me get your thoughts on Mr. Esteban Ocon, whether he should be rated a little bit more. While I just put out all my links out on socials, and just to get everybody live in there. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you like Formula One content like this. Is Esteban Ocon, ladies and gentlemen, underrated? If I go ahead and I will show you this screen, we're going to have a look at some of his stats. I think it's only right if we look at how he's been since he's been a Formula One driver. Let's have a look and see what he has done since he has joined. Since he has joined Formula One and what he's currently doing at Alpine. As we are here, motorsportstats.com is where I'm getting some of my statistics from. As you can see, driving for Alpine, he's a French international. As I say, international, like he plays for France, but you catch my drift. Age 25. Not many people would have remembered that actually he's done some good years here. I think he's been in Formula One about 6 years, where he's had a gap in the middle. Is it 2019 where he did not race a single race for anyone in 2019, which was very harsh. He lost his seat to Lance Stroll because I think Stroll and his dad, they came in with a bit of dollar at the Force India side at the time, and then I think they changed the name to Racing Point, I think during the course of the season or something like that. But yes, Esteban Ocon seems to be somebody that's kind of spoken about every now and again and then sort of gets forgotten about, I think, usually during the course of the season. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on that. But if you see these career highlights, he hasn't got any championships, which, I don't think that's a shock, or I don't know if people expected him to be world champion, but he hasn't got that at the moment. He has, however, got a race win. Yes, people remember that one up in Hungary last year in 2021. Of course, the circumstances were absolutely outrageous, but nonetheless, he has won a race. Okay, and when I look at this, if we go to the right a little bit, we look at the drivers' championship right now. Who hasn't won races? Let's see: Russell, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, Kevin Magnussen. Who else is there? Yuki Tsunoda, Joe Guan Yu, excuse me, Alex Albon, Mick Schumacher, Lance Stroll hasn't even won a race. Nico Hulkenberg, Nicholas Latifi. So he's in the he's sort of like 50-50 in terms of who's won races in Formula One and who hasn't. You'd probably be a little bit surprised that Sainz has never won a race, maybe, or Norris has never won a race. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Comment below. Bearing in mind, Gasly's won a race. What's his name? Ocon's won a race. We've got people that have won races here. So it's very, very interesting stuff here when it comes to Esteban Ocon. But yes, he's got 2 podiums as well in his Formula One career. He's raced 92 races. He's got 2 podiums. He's never finished third. So he was either first or second with his 2 podiums. I think the second was in the Renault team in 2020. I think he got on the podium in 2020. I can't remember the race now. It kind of escapes me. But yes, he's never got any pole positions. Of course, his best finish would have been first place. His best starting grid. So in terms of pace, he started third, I think, twice in his Grand Prix career. So he's got some pace. If the car behaves, he's got some pace. So I do wonder, why has he not been given that push, given that team maybe where we could really see his potential? You could argue, however, that, Racing Point, good car, is a decent car, and, Force Indias and whatnot. And Alpine, you could argue decent car as well. I'm not entirely sure. You know what I mean when I say giving him a decent car. He should be in one of those cars, I think, that are fighting at the front. I would love to see how he would have got on in a Mercedes, in a Red Bull, in a Ferrari. I'd be intrigued. I'd be intrigued to see how he got on, because I think he'll do very, very well, in my opinion. He's only had 12 retirements in his 92 races, and I'm trying to remember, a lot of them came quite early in his career. So at the end of the day, I think Esteban Ocon is somebody who, I think is somebody who's quite underrated. I don't know about you guys. I think he's criminally underrated. He's reached Q3 45 times in his 92, so about half. But when you consider the teams he's raced for, the teams that he's actually raced for, getting into Q3 half the time is not too shabby in my opinion. And easily making Q2, and he's had about 15 retirements. Well, I say retirements going out of Q1. I think Esteban Ocon is somebody who he's currently. If I can just share this screen as well, I want to share something from Twitter that I saw, which was actually pretty brilliant. Which was his points so far this season, in comparison to the points that he's had in the past. And I want to just make sure I've got this nice. Big up to Kat at honey_Rick. Must be a Danny Ricciardo fan, I'm hoping. It says it's got Esteban Ocon, Lewis Hamilton, and Danny Ricciardo propaganda. So fair play to you. 3 races in is what they say. 3 races into the season, Ocon already has 20 points, well on his way to beating his record. Now, when I look at his record, his points per season, there you are. Force India is still his best points tally, which is probably where he gets kind of gets left behind, not spoken about enough, because we've not had improvement since 2017, and that's where the argument comes. Some of you might actually think, do you know what? He's actually right where he needs to be. We don't need to be blowing his trumpet too tough. So Esteban Ocon, 87 points in 2017, and then 2018 he got only 49. I remember that he had a few tangles with Sergio Perez that year. That did not do his reputation any good, in all fairness. But then he went to Renault. Obviously, had a year out. Lance Stroll came in 2019. He was out without a seat. 2020, however, he got back into the Renault, where he got the podium that I was referring to. Did a year with Renault, which then changed the name to Alpine last year, which was he got 74 points last year. So he was close to that Force India. But this so far, after 3 races, he's actually got 20 points. And if the momentum kind of stays the same, then you would expect him to actually beat his record. And I really, really hope he does. I really hope he does. And I'm sure many others would. Big up to Jeb. F1_Jeb says, in 2017, after 3 races, he had 1 point. In 2018, he had 3 points after 3 races. In 2020, he had 4 points. In 2021, he had 8, and in 2022, he's got 20. So that is looking good. And to think that 2017 season, he started off with 1 point in 3 races, yet you look at his stats at the end, phenomenal scenes. So big up to Jeb on those statistics right there. So let me know your thoughts in terms of Esteban Ocon. Where do you think he should be finishing in this season's championship? Because the more I sort of sat and looked at these stats a little bit longer, I thought to myself, would you be disappointed had he not got into, say, I don't know, the top? If he doesn't finish in the top 10 as a drivers' championship? As we're looking over here, he's currently in 7th place, and I don't think he's ever finished in the top 10 with the 20 points. In fact, I can check that out right now. Has Esteban Ocon ever finished in the top 10? I don't think he has. So this will be a very important year if he can actually finish in the top 8 in 2022, or let me say top 10 rather, top 10 rather in 2022, and hopefully, let me just fix this mic up a little bit. What's going on? Let me know if you can hear me clearly, loud and clear. If you cannot, then I guess you can't hear me. But yes, Esteban Ocon. Let's have a look here. I just want to double check something. I want to see where he's finished year in, year out. So if we go over here to the Drivers' Championship, so 2022, he's currently in the top 7. 2021, he finished 11th. Okay, 11th in 2021. In 2020, he finished 12th. 2019, he didn't compete. 2018, where is he? Ocon, 12th again in 2018. 2017, which seems to be his best points tally, he did finish in the top 10. He finished in 8th. So could he match that or do better this year in terms of finishing in the Drivers' Championship? I'd like to think so. I'd like to think he could, because I think he's a bloody good driver. He's very, very talented. I think he's quite underrated. I think we could really see a really good Esteban Ocon in 2022. And I'm hoping, the car is looking nice. It's looking quite tidy. The Alpine this year has done actually pretty decent. And so now let's wait and see what we're going to get from Esteban Ocon. To answer the question, is he underrated? In my opinion, yes. But I want to get your thoughts. I want to hear your comments on this. Okay, let me know. Do you think he's underrated? Do you think he's overrated? Do you think he's just right where he needs to be? Do comment below, like the video as well, and because I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, and I'd love this video to sort of travel a little bit more along the YouTube world. So yes, that's Esteban Ocon. In terms of other news, in fact, we'll stick with Alpine because Mr. Otmar Satnauer has mentioned that they will be bringing significant upgrades. That's Alpine we're talking about here. Alpine planning to bring significant upgrades for Imola. Now, interestingly, big up to Adam Cooper from motorsport.com who's mentioned this. Now, interestingly, Ferrari mentioned that they're not bringing any upgrades because it's a sprint weekend. It would almost be like a waste of time, right? There's things to do, and I don't know what's the wise thing to do. I'm not entirely sure, but if Alpine are bringing significant upgrades to a car that's actually pretty good this year, that looks pretty decent in 2022, I tell you what, man, I'll start to get nervous. Me as a McLaren man, I'm starting to get twitchy a little bit here. Ferrari has indicated that it will hold back developments on its local race because of the added complication of it being a sprint weekend with the restrictions on Friday practice running that it tells. And that's another point as well, isn't it? Yeah, because there's Friday practices, I guess it's very limited, isn't it? And quali's Friday, right? So I think you only have like one, practice 1 and 2, if that, and then it's quali. And then, then it's the sprint on the Saturday. We're going to bring some upgrades to Imola for sure, he said. I wouldn't be surprised. However, let me stay in line here. However, Safnauer says that his team will be sticking to the traditional schedule of using the first European race to introduce new parts. We're going to bring some upgrades to Imola, that's for sure, he said. I wouldn't be surprised if everyone brings upgrades to Imola. It seems in my 25 years of doing this, pick up to Otmar, 25 years in the game. Wow. For whatever reason, the first European races are where everyone plans their upgrade. It used to be Barcelona, now it's Imola, but it's the 4th race as well. So around the 4th, 5th race, everyone brings upgrades. So we too will be bringing some. It's all aero. Okay, so it's all aero upgrades at the moment. And as you can see the image there of Fernando Alonso's car. So yes, Otmar saying that you're going to be bringing some stuff to the race weekend in Imola. He's hinted here that changes will focus on one area, which is believed to be the floor. It's a bit like it's the bit that makes the big difference, and that's the bit that's changing. It's not a bit of everything. It shouldn't be. It should be significant. Sorry, it's not a bit of everything, and it should be significant. He says. He believes that Alpine's good form in Saudi and Australia, where Fernando Alonso was in the fight for pole before his engine issues, bodes well for Imola. Melbourne has characteristics that other circuits have too, so we will be quick in other places, he explained. Our car is strong in some areas and it's not weak in anything, but it's less strong than others. And this circuit and Saudi were pretty good. I think Imola will be a good track for us. It's anybody's midfield to be the best in the midfield. It's anybody's midfield to be the best in the midfield. So we're planning to be that team. We will work hard to make sure that we are. Safnauer agreed that the F1's budget cap will make it harder for Mercedes, which has yet to finish higher than 3rd, to solve its current issues, potentially giving an Alpine a chance to compete with the Brackley team as the season goes on. Pump the brakes there. I think Mercedes will get their stuff sorted. Don't worry. In the past, they would have the money to throw at it, which is true, and the resource to throw at it. So now maybe one of them limiting factors for them to be able to throw their big resources of money at it is the budget cap, he added. So I think that the budget cap helps too, and I think rightfully so. It's the same for everybody. Let's not change it. And a few comments there. Giving Alonso a reliable car will be a good start. Look, they've got a good car, man. There's no shame in in what they've done this season. Alpine have performed incredibly well, a lot better than I think people expected them to be. They seem to be a bit of the, you know what Renault are like. Every year they sort of seem to slow down and take forever and a day to get that car ready to rock and roll. And it looks like they finally have one. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the Alpine get on in Imola, especially with that talk from Otmar Safnauer. Sticking with Otmar, by the way, he's mentioned something about Oscar Piastri, who is a reserve driver for Alpine. And to this day, it's still a farce that that you know Piastri cannot find a Formula One seat. I'm not even I don't watch I don't watch Formula, the sort of the feeder series religiously. I don't watch F2, F3, not that much. But I know about this guy, and I know that he's been dominating Formula 2 for years now. And it's still astonishing to this day that he hasn't got a Formula One seat. However, Otmar is eyeing a 2023 bow for Oscar Piastri. He needs to be in a seat next year. It's very, very simple, okay? Alpine team boss Otmar Safnauer has said that he will be pushing for Oscar Piastri a spot on the grid next season, even if it's not with his current team. And that's the difficult part, isn't it? Do you take out Alonso? Do you take out Ocon? The answers for both, I'd say no. There's no need to do so. Piastri is a real talent, and some were a little surprised. No, we were absolutely shocked that he didn't find his way onto the grid in 2022. It's not a little. We were shocked. Though there were obviously some big names in his way. At Alpine, a strong lineup of Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon has never really going to be broken up. And Alonso still looking to remain in the sport for a little while, and still putting in the performances. And Piastri may have to look elsewhere to be driving in 2023. Safnauer says he's eager to help solve that conundrum, though. Do you remember, like, when Ocon was without a seat in 2019, and we saw in Drive to Survive, Toto Wolff kind of sort of meowing his way to get Ocon into a seat. It looks like we're going to have to do another job like that, Safnauer. You better do some Toto Wolffness and try and get this man a seat in 2023, because he cannot go another year without being in Formula One. I'm not having no. We need to see this man in action. We need to see him in action. It's great that Fernando wants to continue, and at the same time, we have Oscar in our ranks. Oscar's a wonderful young man. He is well prepared and very ambitious, Safnauer said, quoted by Motorsport magazine. Also, question, in Australia, because Oscar is an Australian, right? In Australia, in practice one, you would have thought, like, you know what I mean? Just let him have a few laps in his own Grand Prix. On a Grand Prix weekend. I thought that was a bit weird. I guess because they were trying different setups. I think Ocon had a very, very different setup to Fernando. So, maybe that's probably what the case is. We're working hard with Oscar. If the opportunity arises to put him in a Formula One car, we will already give him that opportunity later this year, as he will do some free practice with us. Oh, hello. Now you're going to do some free practice. In addition, he has also done a lot of work for us on the simulator. He's an up-and-coming talent to watch. Absolutely. So stop depriving the man. There's no pressure to find him a seat, as it's only April, but in July, the pressure will certainly be there. Okay, so July, people, we should be seeing Oscar Piastri announced in some form or vein of being in a Formula One seat. I mean, it's absolutely farcical that he's not in a Formula One car at this moment in time. But yes, that seems to be the stories today. We were talking about Esteban Ocon. Is he overrated? Is he underrated? I personally think he's extremely underrated. Yes, there is reasons why people do not necessarily put him in that same conversation with the Gasly's and the Norrises and whoever else of this world. But at the same time, I think Ocon is somebody who's going to, I think, better his record that he's ever done in Formula One in terms of his points tally. I think he will finish in the top 10 of the Drivers' Championship. He is a strong sort of piece of the puzzle in terms of Alpine doing well this year alongside Fernando Alonso, who looks bloody quick, by the way, this year. The Alpine looks good. Hopefully that the reliability issues are sort of worked out a little bit more. Hopefully they can get that car back to sort of just to keep it consistent over time, because it's fast. And Otmar says there's no real weaknesses. It's just that we're not as strong as everybody else in certain areas. They're bringing in a new floor to Imola, so we'll see how that sort of goes for them. So yes, Esteban Ocon, it could be his year in terms of shocking the Formula One grid, in terms of people speaking about him, and as well as in the second part of the news as well, we spoke about the upgrades coming into Imola, and thirdly, Otmar Safnauer is saying that, you know what, we need to get Oscar Piastri a seat in 2023, and he will do what he can to get him into Formula One next season. So July, look around. July is around probably the deadline when Piastri should be announced at some team, wherever it may be. My early guess, if you want to put a prediction with the way things are going, Williams, I think Nicholas Latifi's got to watch out over there. I personally think so. But yes, until that, people, thank you for joining us today on this live stream. Hold tight. Nate, who says swap Latifi with Homie. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the first prediction out of the way. Definitely. I would swap him in a heartbeat. No word of a lie about that. Oscar Piastri to Williams, people. 2023, you heard it here first on the Peter on Pole channel. Thank you for joining me on the F1 News Daily Show. We'll be back tomorrow. Hope you enjoy your Easter weekend, your extended weekend. And I'll be back even on Easter Sunday. I will be back, people, quite early. But before the day gets started. With that, people, anyway, lights out. Thank you for joining.